Hi guys, I'm going to talk about the paternity leave and pay in the UK through this video. We have done previous videos regarding maternity pay and leave as well as statutory sick pay and leave. So as paternity leave is also going with the same topics, I thought to do this video to discuss about paternity leave and pay in the UK. All the guidance regarding this is available on the UK government website and I'll be referring to that page through this video. So if you have not yet subscribed our channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. And if you are looking for information regarding the paternity pay and leave, or if you are looking to apply for paternity leave and pay, I hope this video will be helpful for you. So without further delay, let's see what is available on the website. The website says paternity pay and leave, and first you have the overview section, and it says when you take time off because your partner is having a baby, adopting a child, or having a baby through a surrogacy arrangement, you might be eligible for 1 or 2 weeks paid paternity leave, paternity pay, and shared parental leave and pay. So I'll be focusing on paternity leave and paternity pay along with the eligibility criteria. So the next section is paternity leave. So it says you can take either 1 or 2 weeks leave. If you choose to take 2 weeks, you can take them together or separately. So if you want to take 2 weeks paternity leave, you can either take 2 weeks together or you can choose to take them separately. You get the same amount of leave even if you have more than one child. For example, if you have twins, you will get the same amount of leave. There won't be a change to the number of weeks that you are eligible to get as paternity leave. Then a week of leave is the same amount of days that you normally work in a week. So if you work only 3 days a week means 3 days of that week. An example is given here. If you only work on Mondays and Tuesdays, then a week of leave is 2 days. Then it says your leave cannot start before the birth. It must end within 52 weeks of the birth or due date if the baby is early. So if you choose to take your 2 weeks after the birth, you have to take the 2 weeks of leave within 52 weeks of birth. Then you must give your employer 28 days notice if you want to change your start date. Then you do not have to give a precise date when you want to take leave. Instead, you can give a general time such as the day of the birth or 1 week after the birth. Now let's look at the paternity pay. So first important information is about the amount of pay. The statutory weekly rate of paternity pay is £187.18 or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever is lower. So the amount of statutory paternity pay for a week is the lower of £187.18 or 90% of your average weekly earnings. So that is the minimum amount of pay that you are eligible as paternity pay. Any money you get is paid in the same way as your wages. For example, monthly or weekly. If you are getting your wages weekly, you will get the paternity pay weekly as well. Then tax and national insurance will be deducted. Then start and end dates, the money is usually paid while you are on leave. Your employer must confirm the start and end dates for your paternity pay when you claim it. And to change the start date, you must give your employer 28 days notice before the block of paid leave begins. Then it says you could get more pay if your employer has a company paternity scheme. They cannot offer you less than the statutory amounts. So as I mentioned previously, there is a set statutory amount and that is the mandatory payment that you should get. However, there can be instances where you could be paid more than that if your employer has a company paternity scheme. Then let's look at the eligibility criteria for paternity pay and paternity leave. So eligibility, you must be taking time off to look after the child and be one of the following. So you have to meet one of these 4 criteria to be eligible. Be the father or the husband or partner of the mother or the child's adopter or the intended parent if you are having a baby through a surrogacy arrangement. Then there are extra conditions you need to meet to qualify for leave and pay. First, we'll look at the eligibility criteria for paternity leave. So there are three criteria that you have to meet. First one is that you must be an employee. So you should have an employment contract and you must be an employee. Then the second criteria, give the correct notice, and then the next criteria is have been continuously employed by your employer for at least 26 weeks up to any day in the qualifying week. So this is important. So if you are new to your employer, you should consider this criteria and you have to find out whether you meet this criteria. So you should be working with your employer continuously for at least 26 weeks up to the qualifying week. So what do we mean by qualifying week? Qualifying week is the 15th week before the baby is due. So if you count all together, you should be working with your employer continuously for at least 41 weeks until the due date. So that is about the eligibility criteria for paternity leave. Now let's look at the eligibility criteria for paternity pay. So there are 4 criteria that you must meet. Then you must be employed by your employer up to the date of birth. Then the second criteria is earn an average of at least £125 a week before tax. Then the next criteria is give the correct notice as we had in the previous section. And the final criteria is again same with the final criteria in the paternity leave. So it is have been continuously employed by your employer for at least 26 weeks up to the end of any day in the qualifying week. So that is about eligibility, and then let's look at how to claim. You claim paternity leave and pay through your employer. You do not need to give proof of the pregnancy or birth for this. So the next section is about notice periods, which is important. You must tell your employer the baby's due date at least 15 weeks before the baby is expected. So I think this date is important. So you have to inform your employer about the due date at least 15 weeks before the baby is expected. And also, at least 28 days before you want to take paternity leave, you must tell your employer when you want your leave to start. For example, the day of the birth or the week after the birth, and if you want 1 or 2 weeks of leave. So this is the summary of statutory paternity leave and pay in the UK government website. I wanted to highlight the key points to help you to understand the summary of statutory pay and leave. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and see you soon with a new video.